Some of you might be wondering what is so special about this location, why am I trying to find it, and what's this got to do with rock music? So let's get one thing clear at the beginning here. This is not a rock music video. This is a video about my quest to find this location. This location has been a mystery for many years for Clash fans, rock music fans, nerds like me. So the Clash were a British rock punk band who played in Bangkok in February 1982. And the day after the gig, they had a photo shoot on the railway tracks for the artwork and album cover of this album, Combat Rock. And it's always been a bit of an urban legend here in Bangkok. Where exactly were these photos taken? There's been lots of stories, blogs and videos about it. And I've read and watched these and thought, well, you're definitely wrong. It couldn't have been here. It wasn't there. So my friend said to me, well, why don't you go out and bloody well find it yourself? And I thought, yeah, that's a great idea. So here we are today on the railway tracks of the Eastern Line, and we're going to head up towards Makassar. And I thought that'd be the best place to start because that's where their hotel was. Well, if you're not familiar with Thai railways, you can actually walk up and down the tracks without being arrested for trespassing. They sort of leave it up to you to be careful, basically. And there's only been one occasion when I've been shouted at by a railway employee. I was crossing some tracks once and this guy shouted out in Thai, waving. He said, "Oi, be careful, it's dangerous." And that was it. But if the trains do come, you can't really miss them because they're really big and they're really loud. I've just seen a dead snake here on the track. It looks like it's been cut in half by a train wheel, and it was probably after one of these chickens. Anyway, I'll do a close-up of it and then some of you can leave a comment and tell me what type of snake it is and whether it's poisonous. There is a place over there called Jack's Rails Coffee Bar. It's a great location right next to the railway tracks. And on the front of it, there are some pictures of customers who have been there. Some very happy looking customers as well, posing with their drinks. Quite a few foreigners. So it looks like it may well have a bit of a cult following. So I was thinking, if I put a link to that place in the description, let's all go there. Let's say one day next week, 4 p.m. on Tuesday, we'll all turn up. They're going to think the world's gone crazy. Bangkok Palace Hotel is where the band was staying during their time here in Thailand. And back in 1982, I'm sure it was a lot more luxurious than it is today. and a lot newer, of course. Nowadays it's just a bog standard 3-star. Lots of tour groups, a lot of Indian tourists stay here. There's a lot of Indian restaurants in the area. Not a real tourist area. Anyway, I've got a couple of hours left of daylight, so I was thinking I can't show you where the location is today, but I can show you where it isn't. A lot of people claim to have found the location of this photo, and I can totally understand why they thought they found the location, because the landscape around here is very similar. It's common knowledge that they walked up and down this track a few miles to do the photo shoot, and of course they were staying nearby at the Bangkok Palace Hotel. One photographer held up the album cover at the same angle as the railway track where he was standing, and he thought this was the spot where the band was standing and the photo was taken. But there are inconsistencies to that claim, because if that was indeed the spot, then on the album cover you should be able to see Makassan railway station in the distance and the sheds of the railway maintenance depot on this side, but you can't. In fact, you can walk up and down this track and stop at many places and line up the album cover picture with the tracks where you're standing and claim that is where the photo was taken. That is how difficult this is going to be. One guy claimed that the photo was taken over the wall here in the old train graveyard, and what he did was he lined up the album cover railway track with the railway track where he was standing and said, yeah, this must be it. But like I said earlier, you know, it's easy to do that, but that definitely was not the location. A common thing that people say about the photo is that it had to be taken in the Makassan area because they were staying nearby, and Makassan was all jungle in the 1980s. Yes, they were staying nearby, but Makassan most certainly was not jungle in the 1980s. It wasn't even jungle here in the 1920s. This area has been the hub of the Thai railway industry since the early 20th century. In 1910, they built the Makassan Railway Maintenance Depot and Train Factory here, and since that time, hundreds and hundreds of employees have lived in the immediate area in wooden houses given to them by the State Railway of Thailand. And a lot of those wooden houses are still here today. The area has a name, it's called Nikom Makassan, which means Makassan Settlement or Railway Village. If we look at this aerial map from 1958, you can see the Railway Maintenance Depot and Train Factory, all the sidings, and this area actually became the train graveyard years later. And you can also see the roofs of the wooden houses where the employees lived. It's only in recent times that the sidings area has been allowed to become overgrown and resemble a jungle, but it definitely wasn't jungle here in the 1980s. So this photo was most definitely taken a few miles down the track. So on the day of the photo shoot, they would have left the hotel, walked along the railway tracks. I'm wondering how far did they walk along the tracks, because it was a hot day, you can see it from the photos, and they had a gig the night before, probably very hungover, possibly still on the piss, and that makes it tricky because how far do I walk down the tracks looking out for this spot? 5-10 miles maybe? I think it's a good time to give it a rest for today, start afresh tomorrow, and in the meantime, here's a bit of background on the band.
Comeback rock on Epic Records and Cassettes.
If you haven't got something serious to say, piss off.
Bangkok was the final stop on a world tour that ended on the 27th of February 1982 at the Thammasat University Auditorium. The photo shoot was the next day. When it was over, the group stayed on in Thailand for a week, which created a problem for drummer Topper Heiden, who was a heroin addict. Now stuck in Bangkok, where he thought it would be easy to get, he started getting withdrawal symptoms. Bass player Paul Simonon came down with food poisoning after eating street food and had to have part of his intestine removed. Lead guitarist Mick Jones went AWOL and Joe Strummer hit the pat.mck bars while on an extended bender. When photographer Penny Smith convened the combat rock photo session on the railway tracks, she said it was like watching the end of the line for punk's most revolutionary act. Well, today is another day to keep hunting for the location, and looking at the photo you can see they're sitting on a single track. Now this line stays as a single track until it reaches here, Huamark, about 5 kilometers away, and from here on it turns into 3 tracks. So that narrows it down to the stretch of track between here back to just outside Makassar. So last night I'm doing some deep research and I thought I'd Google the name of the photographer, and I added Bangkok 1982 to it, and on page 9 of the search results there was a link to the Steve Hoffman forums, and this is quite a respectable music discussion forum from what I can see, and there was a thread about combat rock, and on page 4 of that thread was a post by someone who may have had a conversation with the photographer, and this is what it says. It says the pictures were taken on a segment of the railway outside of Bangkok. The band decided to take a deserved vacation in the city. The photographer, Penny Smith, travelled with them to document that tour and to take pictures for the new album. Penny felt the tension in the band and decided to take some photos at the end of Petchaburi Road to represent the possible end of the group. So the railway track at the end of Petchaburi Road is where Ramkhamhaeng Airport Rail Line station is, so that's where we're heading next. So we're at the end of Phetchaburi Road. This is an intersection where it meets Sukhumvit 71 and Ramkham Hang. And of course the track is parallel to Phetchaburi Road all the way from Makassan. If we look at this map here, you can see it's very close to Phetchaburi Road all the way to where we are now. So it's not feasible that the picture could have been taken at any point where it's this close, because to the left of the picture you would have been able to see buildings on Phetchaburi Road. But where we are now, it separates a little bit and leaves a bit more space in between. That's why it's only feasible that the picture could have been taken where we are now. So if I walk around and do a few comparisons, I think we're on the right track. The canal on the album cover is this one here. This is an old photo from 1958, and you can just see Ramkham Hang Road under construction here. So this photo of them walking towards Ramkham Hang Road, you can just see a bit of the canal on their left. That proves that this is the stretch of track where the album cover picture was taken. Definitely the same spot, because if you look in a distance on the album cover, the railway track goes over a slight hump, and if I give you the comparison shot now, you can see the railway track does the same, plus the track alignment is also the same. And that little hump is the bridge over the Klong San Seb Canal. Also, one of the buildings you can see on the album cover in the distance is the old Petrovet Hospital building, and since 1982 they've actually replaced that with a much taller one, and that is the one you can see today. So I think it's time to crack open the champagne. So here I am trying to fight. Wow, that's close, man. I'm terrified, I'm frozen to the spot. Thank God for that. So I think that just about wraps up the mystery of the Combat Rock album cover. After many years of speculation, hearsay and downright lies, it was taken on this stretch of track here below the Ramkham Hang Airport rail link station. And that is a big relief, not just for me, but for the many thousands of Clash fans, music fans in Thailand and around the world. And when you're a music fan, these are the little facts and bits of info that you do want to know about your favourite group. So that just about wraps this up. I've had a lot of fun trying to find this location. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please do subscribe if you haven't already done so. If you want to support the channel, you can do so via the Buy Me a Coffee link on the screen here. I think I've deserved at least one coffee. So that just leaves me to say, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.